I'm just wondering if there's still a market for those signed Kevin Durant net cards you have in your possession.
This must have been the fastest turnaround for an owner ever. They announced Matt Ishbia at 11 a.m. yesterday here, and his team is now like third most likely to win the NBA title. Pretty remarkable.
Pretty good start.
They won't win the NBA title.
Kind of Steve Cohen-esque. Anyhow, how are things in Arizona? Or I wonder, for the locals there, not that you get to see a lot of them because there's such an influx of people from all over the country for a Super Bowl. Are they Super Bowl heavy, or is it all Phoenix Suns right now?
Right. Well, today it's just Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
Guys getting traded. Like literally, you can't talk about anything else. The only thing that I'm really seeing is people being surprised at the Super Bowl ticket plummeting, and kind of where that's. Yeah. It's now into
How
the
do you
range
define plummeting?
Yeah.
Last 48 hours, the get-in has gone from about $5,000 to $3,000.
All right, that's a 40% drop.
Yeah, not in the affordable range, but it's so now the only thing that's going to stop this drop is someone who's already at the Waste Management or someone who's around who just says, or a displaced fan who just says, I'm just going to go. And usually it happens this way where the only time the market ever fell out was the one in New Orleans, the first Brady Super Bowl.
See, what's
where
weird
you had.
That's so weird to me because Philly fans travel very, very well. Kansas City, of course, no stranger to the Super Bowl. They travel very well. It's a great matchup, all the nonsense you want to talk about.
But do you want to be there, Craig? That's the thing. Like, everyone says, hey, are you really the best fan if you're at the game? Like, I don't know. I know plenty of guys who say, I'm an Eagles fan. I just want to be locked in a room and watch it on TV. It's not that good watching a football game.
I agree. Listen, I've told this story many times. I went to 12 consecutive Super Bowls. I stayed for 3 of them.
But does it also hurt, to your point, that the Eagles fan base has been in a Super Bowl relatively recently?
Yeah, that's true.
And the Chiefs have been there a couple of times where there may be fans who've done the trip in the last half a decade who say, I did that once, I'm not doing it again.
I think the price
if it was the Bills, forget about it. Right?
That's different. Yes, I agree.
If it were the Bills, this ticket, there's no way this ticket would be less than $8,000 because everyone would be coming. But yes, obviously it's the Alabama in the national championship syndrome. Right. How many times are you going to go? And it's when the once in a lifetime becomes third in a lifetime and fourth in a lifetime, it's just not that cool.
And the reality is that the people that have those get-in tickets, which are not the best tickets in the building, are trying to make a profit. They're panicking right now. They don't want to be stuck holding the ticket because they're not going to the game. So they're lowering the price now to just guarantee the sale at a smaller profit so they can move on. That's really what's going on.
Super Bowl. I mean, the Super Bowl is also a different animal. People like the commercials. People like. I mean, it's completely different. But I know so many people who, and you guys have heard this before, where even they're going to a regular season game and they say, "I went to the regular season game. I went to the game," and then I call the person later and say, "Hey, what are you doing now? You went to the Giants game." He's like, "I'm watching the Giants game."
Right.
I'm like, "What? What are you doing? What are you watching the Giants? You were just at the Giants game." He's like, No. I need to see it now. I'm like, "Well, that's why you're not married." He's like, "No, I got to see the game." I'm like, "Well, why'd you go?"
It's a good point.
That's an Evan Roberts move right there. Evan is the king of that. Talking to Darren Rovell. One of the reasons I wanted Darren to come on, everyone knows, listen, I'm a compulsive gambler. I don't gamble. I can't gamble. But I'm obviously aware of what's going on. And I was really struck by the fact, and I guess I shouldn't have been, that this year, and it's a landslide number, there will be nearly $16 billion legally wagered on the Super Bowl. If you had a couple billion more, neighborhood bookies and whatnot, it'll be in the ballpark of $20 billion wagered on Sunday's game. We've never seen anything like that. And I'm trying to figure out who's exposed here. I was told that by far a significant amount of money is on Philly as opposed to Kansas City. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the props are obviously the thing where the number of props are insane, and the money on the props in the past couple of years has just grown to get the casual person involved. And The one thing that we saw, which is just crazy, is someone put on Twitter that there was a pro football page where the script was revealed, and it's 37-34.
I saw that.
And it had the temperature and what time the game kicked off, and it was revealed, right. And so I call up the sports book. I'm like, hey, you guys are doing this correct score kind of thing.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Out of all the bets, is the one the Eagles 37, the Chiefs 34? Is that the one where you're getting the most money? They're like, by 5 times. I'm like, oh my god!
So people bought into it.
So I'm trying to get this right. First off, if you've gambled at all, you know that those types of bets are sucker bets. You are not going to win them 90+% of the time. It is how casinos, and you've documented this as well, make the far majority of their money on sports wagering.
Yes.
Are on bets, exotic bets like that. But you're telling me that a guy goes on Twitter after the Arian Foster interview saying that the NFL is scripted and says he found the script for the Super Bowl.
It's a screen grab from a page that does not exist, but it looks exactly like
All right, and the betting public was like, just in case this is right, I got to get in on it.
Let me tell you something, guys. If there was a script, okay, and by the way, the best thing David Stern ever said to me was, he goes, when people say it's scripted, do they understand that they're accusing me of fraud and racketeering and I could go to jail for 10 years? Like, this is not a light claim. But if Roger Goodell actually had the script, and by the way, to script every player and every motion as if it's a ballet, okay, it's very stupid. But if that was the script, guess what? It's not the script anymore! It's not the script anymore!
and when the places told you that it's 5-1, you're talking millions of dollars then that are being wagered on this Fugazi script, right?
Yes, millions of dollars. And millions and millions and millions more wagered on the coin toss.
Yeah, so let me walk Evan through that.
Is that the most popular bet?
Not the most popular. The game is the most popular.
It's probably in the top 5 props, the coin toss.
As far as a non-game outcome bet, it's something. But here's where this became famous. For those of you that don't know, back in the day, and when I was gambling uncontrollably, I've been on the coin toss, so it's a 50-50 proposition, right? But it didn't become well known until, of all people, Wayne Gretzky's wife, Janet Gretzky, who's a well-known gambler in gambling circles, made a $50,000 wager. It's probably, Darren, maybe 20 years ago now, and won the bet. And that then started an investigation, and obviously it blew up Rick Tockett's spot as a guy that was running a bookmaking operation in South Philly with a couple state troopers. But it started with Janet Gretzky.
What happened after that was then the Imperial Palace in Vegas started taking it, and then the Nevada Gaming Control Board said, wait, we don't think you can take this bet. And they're like, well, it happens on the field of play, right? Because Nevada's worried about, is there a human controlling it? And they're like, well, there's a human controlling it, but it's not with a string. Like, they don't know.
Right.
And then, so first it was head tails, then it was, what team will be the first to make an offensive play? But then the problem was that Belichick would always defer. So then that actually had to go into the odds. But the truth is that now the coin toss is a really good thing for the books because they offer zero juice. Now, this is the weird thing. If you believe that at this point everything is so tight, the lines are so tight that there's not really much value and everything is a 50-50 split, the coin toss is actually the best bet at this point because it's 50-50 with zero juice. So there's actually an argument to be made that if you think that everything's refined and, the Eagles should be 1.5 and everything else that goes on, the coin toss has you're paying the books, in layman's terms, the least money. Right. So there is some something to that.
Yeah, it's like going into a casino. Like the best bet you can make in a casino is red or black at a roulette table. It's 50-50. It's a little less because of 00, obviously, but you get the point. And it's become because of the advent of mobile wagering and the fact that so many people are doing it legally now. They're trying to figure out, I don't want to put my toe in the water. Oh, that'll be fun. I don't have to know anything about football. I don't know the quarterbacks' names, but I know heads and tails, so I'll put a couple bucks on that. And that's how it starts and that's how it grows.
Now, let me tell you one more thing. Stanford, there's a paper at Stanford that actually says there is an edge in the coin toss.
What?
It, it's what the ref starts on. So if the tail is up or the head is up, it is a 51% chance of what starts up, given assuming it's not a aggressive flip and it's a real flip.
Right. How high does the coin go? And then, Evan, the other thing is, remember, there are two ways to flip a coin. You could flip it, catch it, and then put it on the top of the back of your hand,
or
you let it hit the ground.
So do we know which official's flipping the coin and their track record for the kind of flips that they usually do?
I wish I knew. And then the other thing that I like is, so like the commercials for me has been it's horrible over the last 10 years because they give it all away, right? Like all these ad firm guys are like, oh, let's get the ROI through YouTube. So we'll tell the boss that we already have 20 million hits before the Super Bowl starts. What about the fact that when I'm sitting on the couch, I've already seen it, and now I can actually go to the bathroom and not care about it? So they're, the guys at Miller Coors are basically like, okay, we're going to have people predict the commercial. They have 6 spots only the CMO's seen it. You can go on DraftKings and you can guess the 12 questions, and and they have a kitty of prizes. So like that's one of those things too, where it's like even things that aren't betting has kind of become, the whole idea of betting is surrounded everything.
You can bet on everything now. And listen, you're right. Like, I do a show on Fox. I'm sure I could ask, hey, you guys know the commercial stop sets? Of course they do. They know the order. They know what commercial's up first, and then that's the issue. It's like when you in some states, for example, you can't wager on the Grammys or the Oscars, let's say. But there are people that know the outcome,
right? There's a person who knows.
Right. And the reality is that, you don't know who that person is. That person's most likely not a man of generational wealth. And if you know who that person is, that you can probably get to the person.
Right.
Hey, what's in the envelope for Best Picture? Right.
Do you know this? Do you know the security around the Pepsi halftime show when Pepsi had it? I mean, like just the rehearsal.
Yes.
To go to the rehearsal and who was on the list and who sees the rehearsal.
Well, but how about this one? I'll give you one that this happened a couple years ago. As many people know, we're talking to Darren Rovell. You can now wager on the length of the national anthem. Well, a couple years ago, and that building is locked down like Fort Knox, like what you're talking about with Pepsi, right? So because they do an actual live rehearsal in the stadium. All right?
Yes.
So I forget who the performer was, but it was a couple years ago. Because they did a live performance while the building was locked down, there was a couple construction guys like 10 blocks away minding their own business.
On the outside.
Yeah,
you could hear it from
outside the stadium. They heard it. They recorded it. Everybody knew exactly how long the anthem was going to be.
So when I used to work for NBC and I was standing out there on the stanchions for CNBC and I was out there, you could when you were on the outside, you could hear what the first song was. You could hear what you could hear it all, which is why they still do it, and it's available in some states. But like, try to get more than $50 on it. Good luck.
Right? Isn't there a wager out there now? People are talking about, and this just shows you the ridiculousness of some of the gambling that's out there on what's Rihanna's last song going to be, who's the special guest going to be, stuff like that.
There is a body part of Rihanna's be revealed, which is so stupid because it's only happened once with Janet Jackson by accident. There is actually a prop. It is real, where you can bet on that. It's minus 1,600 for no. I mean, God.
But you get some great odds on the possibility. It's a yes.
So when it happens, someone goes yes, and you're like, you were rooting for that? No, I just won money off it.
That's a $3,200 nipple. Yes.
We're going to dinner, honey.
I got to ask you a question because I've not followed it recently. You've been very public about your wagers, and sometimes I worry about that because if you have a good weekend, I worry that that's going to encourage people that, it's easy to do. How did you wind up for the year in NFL? Were you up or were you down?
I think I was down around $13,500. So this is one of the things that I do. I am very transparent. You can see every bet of mine since December 4th, 2018. So I know if you go to the Action Network that I work for, you can go on my page. You can see exactly how much I bet, and you can see how much I lost. And I talk about it. And Craig, especially given your history,
Yep.
I think this is really important because I'm not just talking about when I win. You can see all my bets. And I think a problem with problem gambling is people forget their losses fast,
Yes.
and they try to forget them. And if you don't allow yourself to forget them, and they're in front of your face and they're tracked, I think that's a major, like that will ensure that you don't go above your bankroll and you're looking at it, and it's not just in air.
I'll do you one better. Part of you and I went through my trial. They subpoena all your casino records, okay?
Yep.
And this just happened to me maybe a couple weeks ago because I'm many years now away from that moment in my life, but I happened to stumble upon it in an old document. And forget about the wins and losses because I've been very public. I've had 7-figure wins. I've had 7-figure losses, and I'm wagering a ridiculous amount of money. But I went back and I was reading a document that, when I played, because of the amount I was playing, every hand is monitored. And there's a report on it because they wanted to make sure I wasn't counting cards. And in reality, counting cards is more of a Hollywood thing. There aren't 10 men alive today in this country that truly count cards the way you saw in the Ben Mesrick book, 21.
Bringing down the house.
Yeah, only a handful of guys have ever truly done it at that level. In any event, because of how much I was wagering, they want to make sure that I'm not aware of the count. Even if I was, am I betting the count, right? Now, for laymen out there, when you play blackjack, they give a numerical value to cards, and when the deck is in a high positive number, it means that there's a lot of 10s left, meaning the deck is in the player's favor. All right, whatever. Long story short, I went back and I looked at a trip I made to an Atlantic City casino over the course of 4 hours of gambling, and I was disgusted reading it. Because if I put it out there publicly, and maybe one day I will, not for the glorifying of how much money, because I'd probably take the money out of it, the amount of wagers, how many times I went from one table to another table.
Right, you couldn't have possibly been doing anything good.
Right, and there were nights I won doing it, but the point was it was the behavior of a manic person, win or losing, and it really struck me because I had not looked at it in a long time, and now I'm looking at a piece of paper documenting how I wagered, how often I wagered, the amount of hands I wagered, how often I went from this table to that table to this table to that table. And I was disgusted with myself looking at it. And I think being transparent like you are with your bets, people need to understand the brightest people, the most well-connected people, the people who have like legitimate algorithms and break stuff down are going to still do a lot of losing. And what's
my best year in college football was 58%. Okay, I mean,
which barely makes you any money.
75%.
Right, and that barely makes you money. And I can tell you as a fact, in the history of handicapping, there is no such handicapper in the world that has ever had back-to-back years over 60%. It doesn't happen. Right. And the greatest gambler of all time, a guy named Happy Walters, who Armin Catane just wrote a book with, which comes out later in August, never sold a pick. Because the handicappers aren't any better at picking games than the chicken in my backyard is. They're great marketers. They're not great handicappers. In any event, I think it's good that you publicize that because people need to recognize, you know what? You're a net loser this year. You can afford it. You're being responsible, and that's all right. But it's not this pie in the sky. I won every parlay. I win every bet. I'm the cat's meow and gambling. So I think it's good to do that.
Especially given live betting, right? I mean, now we have live betting where, you want to scratch back and keep going. I'm going to make it back tonight. Before I go to sleep, I'm going to be at zero. I'm going to fight.
Yeah, chasing's the worst thing. Evan and I have had this conversation offline because Evan, although he speak for you here, does not bet a lot of money. He has become very good at in-game NBA wagering.
I love live betting, yeah.
And what have I told you a million times? Be disciplined.
That's
when
it.
they make you an offer to guarantee you a win, get out and take the win.
I'm the king of cash outs. I cash out all the time.
Right.
I would say one thing about live betting, because I do about 80% live betting. Just make sure that, try in the moment to have an edge, but realize that every score then becomes part of their algorithm to make the computer smarter. And if you think in thin air you're going to be better than that, figure out what it is. So for me, and I know we don't have much time here, but for me, I always bet live unders because the algorithm accounts for people rooting for offense and for them to always be an over. So that is actually some sort of edge that stays consistent. It's a very small edge, but just realize that you are going up against a computer, and the computer is getting smarter every single day.
Right.
Are you?
No, you're not.
No.
You're not. Now, real quick, what's the deal with you and J.J. Watt? I saw you waiting for him after that last game, and I'm like, he was a little stalkery. I wasn't sure what was going on.
No, listen, JJ and I are friends. We're business partners in a canned cocktail business. We're business partners in other things. Company's called Kickstand. Listen, I went to fly out to see him to surprise him for his last game. And I did not. Everyone hates on everything. Like,
right,
I'm one of the most hated man on Twitter. So, of course, it has to go wrong. So he goes around the stadium. You know how he's throwing the balls to the fans?
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to get killed if I stop him publicly in his last ball throw. So I'm just going to go in the middle of, the when he's going to the locker room, and I'm going to stop him. Well, he keeps walking. And I hit him on the back at like 50 feet before special needs kids are waiting for him.
Oh.
And, of course, the video then becomes Darren Rovell stops special needs kids from seeing J.J. Watt, which, by the way, J.J. already talked to him and this and that. I didn't even see them, and I was just surprising him. Just a case in point, everything goes wrong when social media
Boy,
is
you
involved.
are a bad guy.
I was thinking, what a bad guy.
I'm a
he is.
horrible
Jeez.
guy. What a horrible guy.
This guy.
How
Now-
could you do that to the kids? It's for the kids.
So
How could you do that to the kids?
Here's the question. Are you flying back home or are you staying for the game?
Right now, I have I've done like you, Craig. This is Super Bowl 21. So I have a flight back at 11:45 p.m. The red eye, so that I don't have to deal with the Monday morning airport, which is the biggest nightmare after Thanksgiving.
It is a problem, and if you fly private, late Sunday night is the worst airport experience for the bougie out there that do fly privately. But I got you. Well, look, safe travels. Appreciate you coming on. And
Always great talking to you
I
guys.
think by the way, I do think there is a place to have some roundtable public conversations about gambling in this manner, which I think would be very helpful for a lot of people. So
Yeah,
I'd
we
love
should
to
do
have
it.
you be a part of that. So I appreciate
Of course.
that.
Of
All right,
course.
kiddo, be good.
All right, be good.
I talked to there's Darren Rovell, who's become a friend over the last couple of years, and interesting stuff. He is very much disliked on Twitter.